Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jesse LeBeau here. You're an adult who cares about the well-being of a teenager. You've come to the right place, and just by being here, I already know you are someone with a great heart who cares deeply about a young life. So I'm tipping my hat off to you right now.
So let's get into it. When I was growing up, if I had a bad day, it usually ended when I got home. Today's kids don't get that luxury. Maybe you're watching this because you're worried. Not about today, about 5 years from now. Because you know your teenager has so much potential, you just don't know how to help them unlock it. Today, their world follows them. Everywhere. Into the car. Into the classroom. Into their bedroom. Even onto their pillow at night. There used to be places where kids could just be kids. Now there's almost nowhere to escape. Every time your teenager picks up their phone, they step into a world where someone always seems better looking, more talented, more athletic, more successful, more confident. Think about that. When you and I were growing up, we compared ourselves to the kids in our school. Today, your teenager is comparing themselves to the best basketball player on earth, the best singer on earth, the funniest creator on earth, the best body on earth, the richest entrepreneur on earth, the happiest family on earth. Whether those pictures are real or not, every single day. Eventually, something begins to happen. Your teenager stops asking, "Who could I become?" and quietly starts wondering, "What if I'm never enough?" And when that happens, they stop raising their hand. They stop introducing themselves. They stop trying out. They stop taking healthy risks. Because if you never try, you never have to fail. You never have to be rejected. You never have to feel embarrassed. And if you never fail, you never discover what you're actually capable of. Now, add one more thing. You aren't competing against a phone. You're competing against thousands of the smartest engineers in the world, whose full-time job is keeping your teenager's attention. Not helping them become healthier, not helping them become kinder, not helping them become more prepared for life. Just keeping them scrolling. After speaking to hundreds of thousands of teenagers, I've noticed something fascinating. The questions are different, but underneath, they're almost always asking the same thing. What if people laugh at me? What if I fail? What if nobody likes me? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm not enough? Underneath almost every question is one fear. What are other people going to think about me? Then there's something else I've noticed, and this one's harder to talk about because it comes from love. Every parent wants to protect their child. Every parent. That's what love does. It wants to remove pain, remove disappointment, remove failure, remove heartbreak, remove struggle. And I understand that. I'm sure I'd feel the exact same way. But here's the paradox. The very things we work so hard to protect our kids from are often the exact things that prepare them for life. One of the greatest responsibilities of a parent isn't to run ahead of your child to clear out the road in front of them. It's to prepare them for the road ahead. Because there will be storms. There will be speed bumps. There will be detours. There will be potholes. There will be rejection. There will be heartbreak, and there will be failure. You can't remove those things. None of us can. But you can help your teenager become the kind of person who knows how to handle them. Who can stand on their own 2 feet no matter what life throws at them without needing you to come and rescue them. And if I've learned one thing after all these years, it's this. Every parent wants the same thing. Not a perfect teenager, a capable adult. Someone who can leave home one day and be okay, even when you're not there. Most people think the answer is confidence. I agree, but I think we've misunderstood where confidence comes from. You can't hand it to a young person. You can't buy it, you can't lecture them into it, and you can't build it with compliments alone. Because confidence that someone else gives you can also be taken away. One cruel comment, one breakup, one rejection, one failure, and suddenly, it's gone. But there's another kind of confidence, the kind nobody can take away. The kind built every time your teenager chooses courage over comfort. Every difficult conversation, every practice, every audition, every interview, every apology, every rejection, every promise they keep to themselves, every time they do something difficult and realize, I can do this. At the Attitude Advantage program, or TAP as we call this earned confidence. Earned confidence is trusting yourself because you've repeatedly proven to yourself that you can do hard things. Here's the formula. Action creates evidence. Evidence changes belief. Belief becomes earned confidence. And earned confidence changes everything. It gives a young person the courage to raise their hand, to try out for the team, walk away from the wrong crowd, stand up for what's right, start the business, ask for help, take responsibility, become the person they were created to be. Maybe the better question is, how do we prepare them for the real world? Because one day, your teenager is going to leave home. They won't take your rules with them. They won't take your curfew. They won't take your screen time limits. What they'll take is who they've become. And after working with a lot of families over the last decade, I've noticed something. The young people who are prepared for life almost always have 5 things in common. Not because life was easier, not because they were born different, but because they learned 5 key shifts that help them build something that no one can ever take away. Earned confidence. Let's dive in. So, how do we actually prepare our kids for the real world? That question has been driving almost everything I've done over the last decade.
Jesse LeBeau has taken his story of underdog to on top.
Today he speaks to millions of teens about his own struggles.
But the truth is, I didn't learn the answers standing on a stage. I started learning it long before that. Growing up, I had one dream. I wanted to become a basketball player. There was just one problem.
Here's Jesse, the star of the game we just watched.
I was the smallest kid in town. Not exactly what coaches were looking for in a sport built for giants. People doubted me, some laughed at me, and most figured I'd eventually give up and move on. And honestly, there were days I wondered if they were right. Looking back now, I realized something. I didn't become confident because somebody told me I was. I became confident because I kept showing up. One workout, one practice, one missed shot, one failure, one small win at a time. And that's something I wish every young person understood. Nobody can do your push-ups for you. Not your parents, not your coach, not your teachers, not your mentor. People can encourage you, they can believe in you, they can challenge you, they can teach you, but they can't do the reps. Only you can do that. And that's actually great news, because life doesn't reward what someone else did for you. It rewards what you became capable of doing yourself. That's why the confidence you earn is the confidence nobody can ever take away. Years later, I started speaking in schools. At first, I thought I was simply there to tell my story. But after hundreds of schools and over 1 million kids, I realized something. I wasn't just telling my story. I was listening to theirs. Different names, different schools, different cities, different backgrounds. The same fears, same doubts, same questions, same incredible potential. I realized I wasn't meeting thousands of different teenagers. I was meeting the same teenager living thousands of different lives. The kids who cared too much about what everyone else thought. The kids who were afraid to fail. The kid who stopped believing in themselves. The kid who just needed someone to believe in them until they learned how to believe in themselves. So I became obsessed with one question. What actually changes a young person's life? Not for a week, not because they felt inspired after a speech. What creates change that actually lasts? Why do some people completely transform while others stay stuck? It wasn't talent. It wasn't money. It wasn't popularity. It wasn't intelligence. It wasn't luck. It wasn't even motivation. It was something much simpler. The teenagers who changed started doing hard things. Not huge things, small things, repeated over and over again. They turned their camera on when it was uncomfortable. They introduced themselves to someone new. They joined the team, applied for the job, had the difficult conversation, put their phone away, apologized first, kept promises to themselves, and little by little, those actions became proof. That proof changed what they believed about themselves, and those new beliefs changed the direction of their lives. That's when everything finally clicked. Confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. Action creates evidence. Evidence changes belief. Belief becomes earned confidence. Over the last decade, I've watched that happen thousands of times. Different kids, different families, different stories. The transformations all looked different, but underneath them, the same patterns kept showing up. Again and again and again. That's when I realized the 5 key shifts didn't come from a book. They came from thousands of conversations, thousands of breakthroughs, thousands of setbacks, thousands of courageous decisions, and thousands of young people who taught me what real confidence actually looks like. Those patterns became what we call now the 5 key shifts. 5 principles that create the conditions where confidence isn't simply talked about, it's earned. Let's start with the first one, because everything starts here. Shift 1, it starts with you. Before we talk about changing your teenager, I want to ask you something. Have you ever caught your teenager doing something and thought, wow, they got that from me? Maybe it made you smile, the way they laugh, a phrase they use, the way they tell a story. Or maybe it made you stop for a second. The way they reacted when they got frustrated. The way they talked about themselves after making a mistake. The way they reached for their phone the second there was a quiet moment. Whether we realize it or not, our teenagers are always watching us. Not just when we're trying to teach them, especially when we're not. They're watching how we handle stress, how we treat strangers, how we talk to our spouse, how we respond when life doesn't go our way, how we handle failure, how we celebrate success, how we apologize, how we love. Every ordinary day, they're quietly building their definition of what it means to become an adult. A few months ago, I was on one of our parent wrap-up calls with a mom whose son had just finished the program. As she started sharing, I watched as her shoulders relaxed. A smile spread across her face. Then she laughed. It wasn't just happiness. It was relief. The kind of relief that says, "We're finally okay." She looked at me and said, "Jesse, I finally feel like I have my son back." She wasn't talking about grades or sports or motivation. She was talking about their relationship. Then she told me why. One of the biggest breakthroughs came from a lesson we teach called the red zone. The idea is simple. When emotions get high, good decisions get low. So instead of trying to solve the problem or win the argument, you simply recognize we're in the red zone. You pause, you create a little space, you let your emotions settle, and then you come back when you're both ready to listen. She started doing it. A few weeks later, right in the middle of an argument, her son looked at her and quietly said, "Mom, I think we're in the red zone." Can you imagine that moment? The argument stopped, not because somebody won, but because they both understood. Instead of fighting each other, they started working on the problem together. As she told me that story, I realized something. The breakthrough didn't happen when her son learned a new lesson. It happened when he watched his mom live it first. She modeled it, he mirrored it. That's one of the greatest truths I've learned about parenting. Our kids rarely become what we tell them to become. They become what they consistently see. Your teenager may forget the conversation you had last Tuesday, but they'll remember how you handled the disappointment, how you treated people. Please hear me. This isn't about being perfect. Perfect parents don't exist. I'm certainly not one. This is actually incredibly hopeful because it means you have more influence than you think. So maybe the first question isn't, how do I change my teenager? Maybe the first question is, who am I becoming? Before it ever starts with them, it starts with you. Shift 2. Don't fight the algorithm, beat it. One of the hardest parts about being a parent today is that you're trying to raise your teenager in a world that was never designed with their best interests in mind. The companies behind social media aren't asking, how do we help your teenager become more confident? They're asking, how do we keep them here just a little longer? Every notification, every endless scroll, every autoplay, every streak, every recommendation, none of it is an accident. It's all designed to capture one thing: your teenager's attention. Around TAP, we have a nickname for it. We call it the Beast, because that's exactly how it behaves. It never sleeps, it never gets tired, it never says, "You've had enough." It's always hungry, always pulling, always asking for one more minute. Now think about this. We hand that device to a 13-year-old whose brain is still developing and hope they'll somehow out-discipline the most sophisticated attention machine ever created, designed by the smartest people on planet Earth to hack every aspect of their human biology. That's not a fair fight. It's not because your teenager lacks character. It's because this was never supposed to be a battle they fought alone. That's why I believe one of the most important parenting decisions you'll ever make is deciding what kind of relationship your family is going to have with technology. Not your teenager, your family. Because your teenager isn't mature enough yet to make that decision wisely. That's your job. Maybe you've walked into their room and they're lying in bed, scrolling. You ask a question, they barely look up, 5 more minutes turns into an hour, and somehow the evening disappears. Parents tell me this all the time. They go, "Jesse, my kid is glued to their phone." And I believe them, because I've seen it. Head down, eyes locked on a screen, hours disappearing without even realizing it. It's almost like they're sleepwalking through childhood. Not because they're bad kids, because the beast is incredibly good at what it does. A while back, one of our students came back to one of our group calls. He finished the program about 6 months earlier, and he just couldn't wait to tell us something. He said, "Jesse, my screen time used to be over 8 hours a day. Now, it's 45 minutes. Everybody celebrated, but what he said next was even better. He said, "Everything finally clicked. I realized I was spending the best years of my life scrolling through moments that weren't mine. I wasn't making memories. I was just watching everyone else make theirs." He told us he felt lighter, calmer, less anxious, more present, like he'd finally woken up. That's what the beast steals. Not just time, wonder, curiosity, presence, adventure, friendship, dreams, the innocence and joy of childhood. Your teenager only gets one chance to be 13, one chance to be 15, one chance to fall in love, one chance to make lifelong friends, one chance to chase big dreams before the world tells them they're impossible. Don't let endless scrolling quietly numb them out and steal those years. Here's the good news. You have something the beast doesn't. You control the environment. And here's one of the biggest lessons we've learned at TAP. Systems beat willpower. Every single time. No teenager is going to out-discipline a $1 trillion algorithm. Honestly, most adults can. So stop asking your teenager to fight alone. Build systems instead. Phones charge outside the bedroom. Real app blockers. Protected value time. Protected family time. Boundaries that actually hold. Not because you're trying to control them, because you're protecting them. One day, your teenager will be old enough to create those systems for themselves. That's adulthood. But until then, that's your responsibility. Because boundaries don't take freedom away. They protect it. They protect attention. They protect confidence. They protect relationships. They protect childhood. And ultimately, they protect your teenager's ability to go live an extraordinary life in the real world, not just watch one through a screen. Shift 3, team up. I want to ask you something. When you think back to the best memories of your life, what do you remember? Maybe a championship, a family vacation, summer camp, college, road trips, late night conversations, laughing so hard your stomach hurt. Now, here's another question. If you took the people out of those memories, would they still mean the same thing? Probably not. Because the greatest moments of our lives are rarely about what we're doing. They're about who we're doing it with. I honestly believe that's one of the biggest things teenagers are missing today. Not because they don't know enough people, because too many of them don't feel like they truly belong anywhere. Maybe your teenager tells you, "I don't really have any friends." Or maybe they do have friends, but somehow they've never felt more alone. We've never been more connected. And we've never been more lonely. Thousands of followers, hundreds of streaks, constant notifications, yet so many teenagers eat lunch alone, sit in their room alone, carry anxiety alone, fight battles alone. That's because connection isn't belonging. A screen can connect devices, but only people can create belonging. That's why one of the biggest philosophies we teach at TAP is something we call team up. Team up means finding your people. Not the most popular people, not the coolest people, your people. The people who light up when you talk about the same things you love. The people who challenge you, encourage you, laugh with you, stand beside you. People you experience life with, not through a screen, but standing shoulder to shoulder, living it together. One of my favorite questions to ask teenagers is simple. What are you into? Basketball? Cars? Music? Anime? Fitness? Art? Fishing? Photography? Coding? Serving? It doesn't matter. Because here's the secret. You don't have to go looking for friends. You go where your passions take you, and that's where you'll find people. The friendships are just the byproduct. I remember when Arjun first joined TAP. His camera stayed off. He barely spoke. You could tell he wasn't sure he belonged. Then one day, his camera came on. Then he introduced himself. Then another teenager welcomed him. Then another. And week after week, he started laughing, participating, encouraging other teenagers. And by the end of the program, he wasn't just attending. He had found his people. And that's when everything else started changing. Not before, after. His confidence grew. His leadership grew. His friendships grew. His basketball improved. His grades improved. Not because belonging solved every problem. Because belonging gave him the courage to become who he'd been all along. There's something every parent needs to understand. Your teenager is becoming more like the people they spend their life with. Every conversation, every practice, every lunch table, every weekend, every relationship is quietly shaping the person they're becoming. That's why Team Up isn't just about making friends. It's about intentionally building a life, surrounded by people who make you stronger, kinder, braver, more responsible, more compassionate, more yourself. The algorithm wants your teenager comfortably distracted, watching life happen. Team Up invites them back into the real world, where friendships aren't measured by streaks, they're measured by trust. Where memories aren't watched, they're made. Where laughter isn't typed, it's heard. Where encouragement isn't a like, it's a hug, a high five, a teammate saying, I got you. That's real life. And your teenager was made for it. One day, your teenager won't remember how many followers they had. They probably won't remember how many likes they got. But they will remember who believed in them, who sat beside them, who picked them up and celebrated them, and who helped shape the person they became. So help your teenager find their people. Because it was never meant to be lived through a screen. It was meant to be lived together. Team Up. Shift 4, raise capable, not comfortable. All right, I have another question for you. What do you want the most for your teenager? Maybe right now, you don't care if they become the star athlete or get into the perfect college. You just love to see them smile again or believe in themselves again and feel excited about life again. If I asked a room full of parents, I think almost every one of them would give the same answer. I just want my child to be happy. And me too. I really do. But after spending my life working with teenagers, I've come to believe something. Happiness can't be the goal, because happiness isn't guaranteed. Life is going to bring disappointment. There will be failure, heartbreak, loss, rejection, stress, unexpected detours. So maybe the better question isn't, how do I raise a happy teenager? Maybe it's, how do I raise an adult who's ready for real life? Someone who can hear no without giving up. Someone who can fail without believing they're a failure. Someone who knows this is hard, but I can handle hard things. Because one day, life is going to ask your teenager a question. Not with words, with circumstances. The question will be, what are you made of? And your teenager's answer won't come from what you've told them. It will come from what they've practiced. Imagine your teenager is about to leave on the biggest road trip of their life. You already know there's going to be storms, wrong turns, construction, roadblocks, flat tires. As parents, we have two choices. We can spend our lives running ahead, trying to clear every obstacle off the road, or we can prepare our teenager to drive through whatever they encounter. Because here's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Your job isn't to prepare the road for your child. Your job is to prepare your child for the road. I once heard a story that I've never forgotten. A teenage boy had a few friends over at his house. They were trying to figure out what to do for the night. Someone suggested going to a concert. The boy got excited and yelled into the other room, "Mom, can we go?" She walked in, looked at the group, and calmly said, "No. I know you guys really want to go, but I don't think it's safe." There was a little disappointment, a few groans, and then everyone moved on. A few minutes later, though, one of the boys started acting strangely. And this kid happened to be one of the toughest kids in school. He was a big football player that everyone looked up to. He was the kid that everyone respected and nobody messed with. But now, he wasn't saying anything. He just stood there, looking down, trying not to let anyone see his face. His friend finally asked, "Hey man, are you okay?" He looked up and his eyes were filled with tears, and quietly he said, "I wish somebody loved me enough to tell me no." I've never forgotten that story, because in that moment, one teenager heard a disappointment. The other heard love. Real love. Real love doesn't always say yes. Sometimes, real love protects. Real love has boundaries. Real love has a curfew. Real love takes the phone away. Real love lets your teenager be frustrated because it's willing to be misunderstood today to prepare them for tomorrow. Somewhere along the way, many of us started believing that loving our kids means removing every obstacle from their lives. And I understand why. Watching someone you love struggle, it hurts. But here's the hard truth. Every obstacle we remove is one less opportunity for your teenager to discover what they're capable of. Think about your own life. Who are the strongest people you know? Were they the ones who never struggled? Or were they the ones who walked through difficult seasons and then came out stronger? Remember what we talked about earlier? Confidence isn't given, it's earned. And earned confidence is built every single time your teenager does something they didn't think they could do. Every difficult conversation, every missed shot, every failed test, every awkward introduction, every rejection, every challenge, every setback, every time they got knocked down and chose to get back up. That's why we say something all the time in TAP. Nobody can do your push-ups for you. Think about that. Someone can cheer for you, coach you, love you, believe in you, stand beside you, but nobody can build your strength for you. When I was growing up, people laughed, coaches overlooked me, I got told no more times than I can count. But looking back, I'm grateful no one rescued me from those moments, because those moments became my training ground. They taught me discipline, resilience, persistence. They taught me how to keep showing up even when things didn't go my way. Those obstacles didn't stop me, they shaped me. Every challenge your teenager overcomes becomes another piece of evidence. I handled that. I figured it out. I survived. Maybe I'm stronger than I thought. And every piece of evidence becomes another vote for the person they believe they can become. That's earned confidence. One day, your teenager is going to leave home. And when they do, they won't need parents who solved every problem for them. They'll need the quiet confidence that comes from knowing, I've faced hard things before. I can face this too. So don't ask yourself, how do I make my teenager's life easier? Ask yourself, how do I help my teenager become stronger? Because our goal, it isn't to raise comfortable teenagers. It's to raise capable adults. And capable adults aren't built by avoiding adversity. They're built by walking through it, learning from it, growing because of it, and discovering they were stronger than they ever imagined. Shift 5. Nobody succeeds alone. Question. When you look back on your life, who believed in you before you fully believed in yourself? Maybe it was a coach, a teacher, a parent, a grandparent, a boss, a mentor, a friend. I think almost every successful person can point to someone who saw something in them before they could see it themselves. That's not luck. That's how people grow. Nobody succeeds alone. Think about every lesson we've talked about today. Parents matter. Environment matters. Relationships matter. Challenges matter. Now here's the final piece. Sometimes we all need someone who can see what we're capable of before we can. Somebody who believes in us on the days we don't believe in ourselves. Someone who tells us the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Someone who reminds us that we're stronger than we think. That's what a great mentor does. Not because they have all the answers, because they've walked the road before you. And sometimes they simply hold the flashlight until you can see the path for yourself. When I look back on my own life, I realize something. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today without people who refused to let me settle. People who challenged me, encouraged me, corrected me, believed in me, long before I had enough evidence to believe in myself. Every teenager deserves that, not because they're broken, because they're capable of so much more. And that was never meant to happen alone. Researchers have consistently found something fascinating. One caring adult can completely change the trajectory of a young person's life. After spending the last 15 years working with teens, I've watched that happen thousands of times. Sometimes one coach changes everything. Sometimes it's a teacher. Sometimes it's a mentor. Sometimes it's another teenager who simply says, I've got you. One caring adult can change a life. Imagine what happens when a young person is surrounded by an entire community of people who believe in them. One of the biggest lies our culture tells us is that asking for help is a weakness. I've found the opposite to be true. The strongest people I know ask for help sooner, not later. They find great coaches, great teachers, great mentors. They surround themselves with people who help them become more than they could become by themselves. Parents, you listening to this right now, I want to tell you something. You don't have to carry this alone either. Being a parent has to be one of the hardest jobs in the world. There isn't a manual, there aren't perfect answers, and there certainly aren't perfect parents. You're going to make mistakes, just like I will, just like every parent does. But here's the good news. You are never supposed to do this alone. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give your teenager is inviting another trusted voice into their life. Not to replace you, to reinforce you. Because teenagers often hear the same truth more clearly when it comes from someone else. That's not a failure of parenting. That's just human nature. Imagine your teenager surrounded by people who all want the same thing. Parents who believe in them. Coaches who challenge them. Mentors who encourage them. Friends who pull them higher. A community who refuses to let them settle for less than they're capable of becoming. That's powerful. Because transformation almost never happens in isolation. It happens in community. So, as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with one final thought. Your teenager doesn't need a perfect parent. They don't need a perfect coach. They don't need a perfect mentor. They simply need people who will keep believing in them until they learn to believe in themselves. Because confidence is earned. Character is forged. Belonging is found. Resilience is built. And extraordinary lives are almost always the result of ordinary people who chose to never do life alone. Nobody succeeds alone. If you're still watching this right now, thank you. I hope you got a ton of value out of this time. And maybe today you saw your family somewhere in this story. Maybe your teenager has been struggling. Their confidence isn't what it once was. They're anxious or unmotivated, pulling away, and you're wondering how to help them. Or maybe they're doing okay, but you know that they're settling. You see gifts, dreams, and potential that just haven't fully come to life yet. Or maybe your teenager is already aiming high. They have big goals and big dreams, and you're simply looking for the right environment, the right mentors, and the right community to help them become everything they're capable of becoming. That's why we created TAP. Not because teenagers are broken, because they're capable of so much more. And sometimes all it takes is the right people believing in them until they learn to believe in themselves. If today's masterclass resonated with you, the next step is a free parent strategy call. Not because every family is a right fit, but because every family deserves clarity. We'll spend time understanding your teenager, where they are today, where they're hoping to go, and where you hope life takes them. If we truly believe we can help them get there, we'll show you exactly what that journey would look like. And if we don't, we'll point you toward the best next step we can. Because this has never been about enrolling everyone. It's about helping the families we're uniquely equipped to serve. Your teenager's future won't be shaped by one big moment. It will be shaped by small decisions made consistently over time. Thank you for making one of those decisions today.